last night after a round of indoor mini golf. That was thrilling. An elite committee of scientists, experts, and meatball sub-lovers fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the best segment in all of sports television. It's an honor. It's a privilege. It's time for Nick's Tears.
Thank you so much, as always, for the wonderful introduction, Kevin Wildes, even though you're the only person I know who claims to love bowling despite never going bowling, but refuses to open your eyes to maybe a little mini golf.
Indoor mini golf.
Well, it's December, buddy, in New York.
Well, that's why I wouldn't do it.
I don't.
It's an outdoor activity.
We're trying to figure out our Christmas party,
inside.
and Wildes wants to do the same old. I suggested dinner. He's like, who likes dinner?
Dinner for 20 people's a disaster.
Okay.
We usually do bowling, right?
Exactly, bro.
And I said, let's
and you don't,
mix
Bruce
it up.
never gone bowling.
Golf. How about top golf?
All right, not a bad idea. We can discuss this more later. We do have bosses in town from Los Angeles. All right.
Top golf.
To the eliminated tiers, and the X's mean you have been officially eliminated. So, Panthers, Saints, Cowboys, Bears, mathematically alive, but they were eliminated by the committee weeks and weeks ago. No new eliminations by the committee this week because the only team facing elimination, Cincinnati, found a way to win that game. So let's get to the 21 teams remaining on the tiers, 2 facing elimination. Cincinnati stays there. Because Cincinnati, by the way, is going to be on the facing elimination tier probably the rest of the way. And San Francisco, sadly, even after a win because of how the division's shaking up, falls to facing elimination tiers. It's almost like those two teams have not been the same since losing heartbreaking playoff games to the Kansas City Chiefs. Next, going backwards, I think these are 2 of Wild's favorite teams. Nobody is more invested in the Falcons quarterback situation than KW.
It's interesting.
No, nobody is. I'm telling you right now. UW alums, members of the Cousins family, nobody cares more. And then the Cardinals, who Wilds, once upon a time a Super Bowl team, flirted with one another once again. Early this year, it was looking like, just a few weeks ago, it was all good, not so much anymore. Hanging on by a thread, Miami and the Colts. Listen, they both need Denver to fall apart. The Colts, I suppose, could get in the back door through winning the division if Houston totally collapses, but it's unlikely. Miami could be a potentially tough round 1 playoff team if they get there, because it will mean, Brew, I know every time I say it, you squint your eyebrows, but it will mean...
They play a good team.
Right, but it would mean they, down the stretch, beat good teams and won in the cold. So if they get in, they would have exercised some of those demons. Okay. Building with your rookie quarterbacks. Listen, going to be playoff teams, going to be above 500. You're not a contender, but you're good. And that's a hell of a first year. What's that? So you're 5 for Justin Herbert? Oh, you'd assume he had accomplished a bit more than that. But, man, that arm talent. Next! I mean, listen, they're all in the exact same spot. The Chargers have been building it for 5 years.
Fair.
They're all sitting there with 8 wins. The Broncos and Washington got it done immediately. Sneaky good. Listen, despite these 2 teams being quarterbacked by Brew's 2 whipping boys, it used to just be Baker, and then Brew finally laid down his sword at Baker just so he could plunge it into Chino's back. They're good. They win. They're frisky. They're well coached. They have decent defenses. They have exciting offenses. They have underrated, forgotten quarterbacks who are proving their worth game after game. And I think these are legitimately good teams. As opposed to these 2 teams, which are good, but obviously flawed. Now, I understand that the rest of football media has had this amazing, like the Men in Black neuralizer about what you thought of these teams before the bye week because of the bye week. You know, a week ago, we were like, oh man, Baltimore's lost 2 of 3. Houston can't protect. CJ is going to get killed. Then they don't play a game, and I got to listen to Danny on Breakfast Ball be like, eye test. Baltimore's the 5th best team in football. They're better than Pittsburgh. Coach still holding on hope that CJ Stroud and the Texans can turn it around. Like, they are good teams that are obviously flawed. The Texans' offensive line is not good enough. The Ravens' defense is not good enough. We know that. They've lost 2 of 3. Yeah. It's not. That's what I'm saying. Everyone's like, they're turning a corner.
The kicker.
The kicker 1 week. So listen, the Ravens will be fine as long as the defense doesn't fall apart, the kicker doesn't fall apart, and Lamar gets tricked into thinking it's not a playoff game. Next. Don't want to see in round 1. One of Brew's favorites and one of my favorites. Hard to see 3 playoff wins but can beat anyone in the conference. Like, it does not matter if either of these teams gets Detroit or Minnesota or Philly in round one. Either of these teams can win that game. I don't know if either of these teams can then win the next game and the game after. But if you are an NFC playoff team, you'd much rather see on the other side of your bracket one of those teams on the sneaky good line, Tampa or Seattle, than you would like to see Green Bay or the Rams in round one. Excellent teams, wrong MVPs. Obviously, the MVPs of these two teams, if you could do this, are the coaches in Kevin O'Connell and Mike Tomlin. Since you can't do it, crazy idea, let's give it to their best players, Justin Jefferson and TJ Watt, as opposed to you guys trying to sell me this Sam Darnold snake oil and Wilds being a Russell Wilson MVP truther, which I didn't know existed. Where's Justin Jefferson and TJ Watt on your stupid
Justin
pyramid,
Jefferson missed
Chief?
some games too.
He didn't miss 6.
Well, he missed 3.
Exactly. Next. Ghosts of Christmas Past. For the Eagles, it's literally last Christmas in the supernatural fun.
True.
And the way that season ended and the team turmoil and what's wrong, and you just fear that's coming back. For the Bills, it's less calendar related and more clock related. Game management by the head coach. Whether it's 13 seconds, 12 men on a field goal block, 9 men on a pump block, quarterback sneaking with 3 timeouts, passing from your own goal line against Houston with 30 seconds left. A lot of details seem to be falling through the cracks that we have seen before from this otherwise excellent team with obviously a great quarterback. Guys, we don't have one, but get ready to hang the banner, because I'm ready to say this title is locked up. And I've been told it's the most important title in the NFL. Point differential champs. Oh my God, the point differential. Oh, have you ever seen a team put it on Mac Jones and the Jags the way these Lions can? Oh my goodness. The old BCS computers would love this Lions team. Look at the margin of victory. Listen, they're an awesome team, and when they blow you out, they blow you out. Now, the last couple games have actually been down to a field goal, but it doesn't matter. They've earned our trust by being the Lions for 70 years. And then, of course, at the top of the tiers, back where they belong, the actual champs. They might not be covering your spreads. They might not be doing it pretty. They might just be finding the most absolutely excruciating ways to beat divisional opponents. Denver block a field goal. Raiders get a fumble. The Broncos, Chargers don't get a field goal. But whatever it is, they're the actual champs. They're 12-1. They're back atop the tiers. Coach, be honest. Best tiers of the year.
It does get better as more teams are eliminated because the committee can really focus in, but it's still inherently flawed. And
where?
Well,
Where's the
there's
flaw?
a lot of places. And I would suggest axe throwing for the party. So people accuse me of not liking the Baltimore Ravens and not liking Lamar Jackson, and that's
True.
not the case. That's not the case at all. And what I don't like is where Nick has them here. And he throws off, they have 2 losses recently. They do, but they have 2 losses against teams that are on the top of the tiers with the Eagles and the Steelers, and they lost by a combined 7 points. And we can say that the kicker wasn't an issue, but against the Steelers, what was it? Two missed field goals and a missed extra point.
Yep.
And then he had the two missed field goals against the Eagles as well. I think they're extremely dangerous, and if you move them up to where Green Bay and the Chargers are, or not the Chargers, the Rams are, because you love both those teams.
I love the Rams.
The Packers and Jordan Love, he's getting the Jalen Hurts treatment. 13 completions in 3 out of the last 4 games. They're trying to manage him so he doesn't lose the game. And then I know you love the offense for the Rams, and I do too, but they've got some pretty big issues defensively as well. So I'd say before you eliminate Lamar Jackson and all the explosive things that offense can do and kind of throw him into sort of this junk pile, I think you should really consider who's up above him.
This is why it's important to have a committee, because you can see through Coach right there what can happen if you rely on just one man's opinion, because external biases can come into play. Did you see how Coach prefaced this whole thing? Coach, people don't know this, has been attacked by people close to him and afar for an alleged Ravens bias. He doesn't have a Ravens bias. He's a Ravens truth teller. He's a Ravens truth teller typically.
Now
he has overcorrected because he wants to have one of his kids who knows how the internet works send him this clip. Be like, hey, look, I defended your guys. But deep down, Coach knows this. When the games matter, if the Ravens and Rams defenses, let's say they're equal, you're going with Stafford over Lamar just like I am. You trust McVay and Stafford more than Lamar and Harbaugh, just like I do.
I really like
and then
Harbaugh.
I like Harbaugh too. I like McVay more. And again, Coach also did a thing similar to what Danny did this morning on Breakfast Ball, which is we can't, again, with a team that has 5 losses, we can't just be like, well, the last 2 were against good teams, because the previous 2 were against the Browns and the Raiders.
How many losses do the Rams have?
Not that many when they're fully whole.
But how many?
6.
So
Different story.
Not that many wins
either. It's a
Very
different story.
confusing.
Go ahead, bro.
Coach, I loved it until you start talking about J-Lo, but otherwise it was great.
He was
All right.
talking about him like he was who, bro?
J-No.
There you
J-No.
go.
All right,
I've come
but
around on that,
I'm following Coach. The Rams are way too high. And here's where you talked about bias, Nick Stafford bias boosting the Rams. The Rams are 7-6. If the playoffs started tonight, they would be eliminated. They'd be watching it on couches just like we are. All right? And you brought up point differential, which does have significance. Well, they're the only team in the NFL with a winning record and a negative point
What is that
differential.
negative point?
Negative 34. That's pretty bad.
Not nothing.
All right, here's the graph. And here's their ranks. You got them as a top 18, 22nd in point diff. Opponents' points per game, 24th. Opponents rushing, 28th. Passing, 25th. They do nothing well defensively. All right, and then on top of that, Nick,
What?
the Dolphins beat them. The Dolphins beat them.
Dolphins are all
The Dolphins don't beat good teams.
Oh.
It's the only
that's
good team. It's the only winning team this year that the Dolphins have beaten. And guess what? That was with their Avengers. That was with Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Cooper
Where was
Rush.
that game
They
played?
still managed
Where was that
15
game
points.
played?
Miami?
Right.
Does it? No, LA. I think that game was in LA.
Warm weather. The
That game was-
Dolphins are warm weather. Good team. We all know that.
Well, the LA shit
Everybody
was
knows
in
that.
warm weather too,
Yeah.
at home with the crowd, boisterous
For
home
Miami.
crowd. that-
Nobody. What are you talking about? You
But
haven't
they
been there?
scored. They still scored 15 points.
Off game.
15 points. All right, there is no way. And then they play Philadelphia, Coach, and get shellacked.
What did they do Sunday?
Shellacked.
Sunday,
When
what
they
did the
beat
Rams do?
good team-
Name
here's
you
the
a
thing.
good team they beat the
I am-
Bills
see, I-
4 days ago.
I just point
The
out the
Rich
facts.
Tapestry.
I am not about to be fooled by a fluke win over a Buffalo team that was due for a loss and that was looking ahead to the Detroit Lions. That's why the Rams beat them. Bring them down.
So just to be clear, Buffalo's defense was looking ahead.
They were
not
all
their
looking
offense.
ahead.
They were all looking ahead. They scored
were
42
thinking about
points.
what they have to do with the
okay.
Lions.
Okay.
Dealing with all
So
that.
listen, everybody, I understand that having a 7-6 Rams team that currently would not be in the playoffs, as Brew put it, that high on the tiers is controversial.
Travesty.
It's also why the tiers year in, year out are America's most trusted, most respected football ranking system. Because everyone else is afraid to do that. Everyone else, especially this time of the year, you know what they do? They do what so many political pollsters do.
What?
They herd. They're like, oh, where's USA Today got it? Where's the herd hierarchy have it? We don't want to have any outliers. We don't want to be the Ann Seltzer in Iowa. That was mortifying for everyone involved. Exactly. Everyone's afraid of it. The committee says, doesn't matter. We all know that right now, if you're like, hey, has your quarterback coach combo won a Super Bowl together? 2 hands in the whole league go up. Mahomes, Reed, and then Stafford, McVay. And we also
How
saw
long ago was that?
2 years. 2 years ago. The Chiefs won the last 2 Super Bowls.
Stafford's
the Rams won the one
aged
before.
quite a bit now.
You know what? He looked pretty young
Yeah.
and spry Sunday, scoring 44
When he has his
points.
Avengers.
Well, they're healthy. Listen, that's fine. You know what, Wilds? I am starting to look at the Rams. I am starting to think long and hard
we
about
know
the
you
Rams
are.
again.
And the Eagles know you are. You're not fooling.
The Eagles, I got to tell you, the Eagles
They
to the
know.
Super Bowl take asked if they could have my phone password last night, and I was like, no.
you got why?
You know, you can't.
Oh, it's dead.
Exactly. Go ahead.
I think the Bucs deserve the first place bounce. I want to move them from sneaky good to don't want to see Baker in the first round. And I know it's like, well, are the Bucs really that good? Baker, he's not among the elite quarterbacks. They do everything well. Here's the top 10 this season: scoring, passing, running the ball. Bucks, Lions, Ravens, Packers. There you go. How's Baker doing this year? You've seen him have some flashes.
He's doing awesome.
It's the best year of his entire life. And that's without what?
No,
What are you talking about?
go ahead. Just go ahead.
Mike Evans is back?
No, I just don't love the career rank first, because that's, but I get it. You're right. Go ahead. That's why I didn't say anything. Sorry, go ahead.
You don't like Baker?
No, I love Baker. Go ahead. Sorry.
He's one of only 4 quarterbacks scoring 2 touchdowns a game.
Oh, yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
Finally, as Baker, I view him as a young man. You know what I mean? I mean, Baker, although he just had a kid, remember that? He's starting to get up there in age. All of a sudden, Baker, playoff veteran, we're going to have to talk about. Career playoff starts. It's Goff, Hurts went all the way to the Super Bowl, then the Bake Show. So if you get in the mix, all of a sudden there's Baker. But can the Bucs really compete with the best teams, in the NFC? Oh, the Lions, who they beat. The Eagles, who they beat. All of a sudden, I think the Bucs are in first place. We'll have a home playoff game. I don't think you want to see Baker, and I think people kind of wrote them off like, oh, too bad, Chris Godwin's out. It's bad luck for Baker, and then Mike Evans. Well, Mike Evans is back.
And Mike Evans, still has sneaky alive for another 1,000-yard season. Now he needs to have a really big final month of the year, but he is alive for it.
Believe in
Wilds,
the Bucs. It's true, right?
Unlike Coach Mangini and Chris Broussard, I heard nothing but cogent analysis there.
Well, you're trying to interrupt now.
My own reaction was I thought those were league ranks. I was like, he's first and all that stuff, and then I realized what it was. And again, this is not to sway any potential judges in the future. If this were a scored segment, KW, you would have won. I'm just letting you know.
That does feel good.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.